5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We are live. Coming to you live. It's Lichtman Live. Say what's up to the people, Dad.
Hey, welcome to our sophisticated, savvy audience that asks some of the best questions anywhere anyone has heard.
Ever? Whoa.
They're certainly better than the kinds of questions you hear in the regular media. It's not even close. And of course, we are true independent media.
True.
No billionaire control, no corporate control.
True.
Just you and me.
You and me. Well, you and me or you and them? Or you're saying
You and me are the independent media.
with them involved?
With them.
Right. Okay. I gotcha.
Right.
All right. That's what you had to say to the people today?
Let's get started.
We're coming off the high of our 250th episode.
Right. This is 251,
This is
isn't it?
251. So
250 plus one.
let's keep charging towards 300, right, Dad?
Why not? 300, 400, 500. Let's double it.
Wow, that's pretty impressive. We can only do that with your help. So make sure you like the stream and subscribe if you're not subscribed. And also share our videos with groups, Reddits, X's, wherever you share content. Friends and family, too. Our first topic of the evening, Dad, is President Trump has threatened to withdraw Todd Blanche's nomination for Attorney General after Republican Senators Tom Tillis and John Cornyn held up the nomination over their concerns about Trump's settlement with the IRS. The agreement gave Trump and his family's businesses immunity from tax audits and created a nearly $1.8 billion anti-weaponization fund. Is Blanche out, Dad? What's your take?
Well, let me give you some background.
Okay.
Trump, of course, has said Blanche is the greatest attorney general ever.
Right, of course.
Never seen anything like this before. He may be the worst attorney general.
True.
Certainly one of the worst, if not the worst. You know, it was hard to imagine that Trump, after Pam Bondi, could go lower.
Right.
But he seems to have managed it with Todd Blanche. Just to mention a few of the disasters that have marked his tenure. His totally abandoning the independence of the Department of Justice. It was a little slip, and it revealed it all, Sam.
Right.
When he said, I am Donald Trump's lawyer. Whoa, 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 I didn't really mean to say that, right?
Whoopsie daisy.
Right. The AG is not the president's lawyer. The president has his own White House lawyer. The AG is the lawyer for the people and the Constitution of the United States.
Can I ask you a quick question in relation to that?
Yes.
Did JFK kind of screw that over by making Bobby the attorney general when he was president?
There certainly was charges of that nature, but it was never really proven that Bobby wasn't his own man and was simply doing the president's bidding.
Right.
And there was no evidence, even though JFK certainly had his enemies, that RFK was using the Justice Department the way Todd Blanche has for revenge and retribution.
Good point.
Regardless of the objective facts. It's not as if these are real criminals like James Comey and Letitia James that he's going after. These are phony, trumped up, no play on words there,
Good one, Dad.
charges simply designed to satisfy Donald Trump's thirst for revenge on anyone who's looked the wrong way at him. And Todd Blanche, instead of standing up for the Constitution, standing up for the law, has simply bent over and done anything Donald Trump wanted. The ultimate toady, the ultimate sycophant.
Right.
I never thought anyone could be more of a toady than Pam Bondi, but Todd Blanche has managed that. And doesn't stop there. In my view, he grossly violated the law when it came to the Epstein files. He's supposed to release them all, with some very narrow exceptions. But according to press reports, Sam, there may be 1 million or more files that he was supposed to release and he hasn't released.
My goodness.
He's supposed to protect the identity of survivors, and he did not. He mortified the survivors. He undermined the security of their lives by revealing their identity. One of the conditions that Tom Tillis, the senator from North Carolina, Republican who's not running for re-election, said, you got to meet with the survivors. Apparently he did, and it was a disaster.
Yeah.
The survivors said it was unsatisfactory. He was condescending to them. Imagine that. Condescending.
One of the survivors said that he said something to the degree of get to the point when he was meeting with them.
Yeah. And of course, they are strongly, vociferously opposing his nomination. That should have been enough for every Republican in the Senate. Yeah.
You're right, dude.
And it doesn't stop there, of course. Under his watch, there has been gross incompetence and strong allegations of misconduct as well by prosecutors under his watch, including tampering with grand juries in order to get the outcome that they want for the president's revenge tour.
And don't forget, we still don't exactly know what happened with him and Maxwell.
We have no idea, but that smacks of corruption. You know, he had this sweetheart interview with her, which never should have taken place anyway, apparently for the sole purpose of getting her to say, oh, Donald Trump is a perfect gentleman, no problems with him. And then you know what happened right after that?
She went to some cushy.
She goes to the farm, this cushy, low security prison, and she was guilty of some of the most serious felonies you can be guilty of: sex trafficking, exploiting, ruining the lives of young women. She was, guilty of the same kinds of things that everyone has so loudly condemned Epstein for. And she was doing his bidding. She was his accomplice. She has no business being in this prison farm. It's incredibly rare, and there has to be some really good reason to transfer a serious criminal to that kind of cushy confinement.
We just got a $500 donation.
What?
From Curiosity Feeds Me.
Wow.
$500. Thanks for keeping me sane during insane times. Thanks so much for all of your knowledge. That's the biggest donation we've got probably all year. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. And we will keep trying, and supporters like you are what keeps us going.
Wow, we're very grateful for that. Thank you so much, Curiosity.
So that thing with Ghislaine Maxwell just smacked, of a corrupt quid pro quo. You say nice things about Donald Trump, we're going to get you out of the prison where you belong, where you should be, as a very serious felon, and put you into this essential prison farm with low-level kinds of offenders. And I don't know if it's true or not, but there have been plenty of press reports saying even within this low-level, cushy prison that she's getting special treatment, which should be just the opposite for someone guilty of such serious felonies. And, of course, he's fired God knows how many Justice Department lawyers for the serious transgression of actually investigating Donald Trump. Can you imagine that?
All right, but we want your take, because you have a very unique take on what's happening here.
So that's the background.
Right, we got it.
And here's my take. Everybody's wrong.
Wow.
Well, not everybody. Most people.
Okay.
This has nothing to do with Todd Blanche. That may seem totally counterintuitive. This has nothing to do with Todd Blanche. What have I always said? If you want to understand what Donald Trump is doing, what do you have to follow?
The money.
Follow the money. This has everything to do with Donald Trump enriching himself, or at least avoiding a diminution of his riches. He could not care less about Todd Blanche. His threatening to pull the nomination has everything to do with the sweetheart deal that he worked out for himself. He sued himself. This wasn't a real settlement, as one of the judges pointed out. This was totally self-serving. He sues himself, and then he gets this incredible sweetheart deal. where not only himself and his kids, but all his business entities, God knows how many there are, have a get out of jail free card. That is, IRS cannot investigate them, up to the point of the agreement, which is this year, cannot audit them, cannot, even though it's totally warranted, cause them to pay what people are talking about could be $100 million or more. That's what this is all about. So by pulling Todd Blanche's nomination, he deprives the Senate of any leverage of eliminating that sweetheart deal. Put off Todd Blanche until next year. He doesn't care whether he'll be confirmed or not. Maybe a much less compatible Senate. He cares about eliminating any effort to deny him this corrupt, grifting sweetheart deal. So by forgetting about Todd Blanche, who's been on the hot seat to get rid of that deal, he deprives the Congress, the Senate, of any leverage to get rid of it. And he figures, it'll just percolate along and no one will pay any attention to it. And he will benefit, who knows, by how many millions of dollars.
That's an interesting point, because when I first heard this news, it made me scratch my head, because I was like, wait, he's waiting, he's pushing the nomination until the new Congress comes in. He might lose the House, he might lose the Senate. That seems like a ridiculous decision. But when your theory comes into play, it starts to make so much sense. Like, he basically wants Todd Blanche to stay into power. I mean, he's
still acting attorney general.
He's still acting attorney general, and he might just stay that way for another 2 years. There's no, who's going to stop him, right? So he wants to keep all his sweetheart deals in play, kick the ball of his nomination down the road, maybe even never come to that point.
He doesn't have to, right? But it's all about the money. It's all about this totally corrupt deal. Why in the world should Donald Trump, who we know plays fast and loose with the taxes, be exempt from what you and I and every other American is subject to? Audits and possible penalties and fines and retribution by the IRS. What makes Trump, a billionaire, somehow immune from what burdens all of us?
So do you think his plan is just to have possibly Blanche as acting attorney general for the rest of his entire term?
I don't think he cares. That's the point.
Okay.
He only cares about the money. And whether, he renominates Blanche or not, he could not care less. Because as acting attorney general, he's still going to bend over and do whatever Trump wants him to do.
Now, could Dems win the Senate, come in 2027, and somehow hold Trump accountable for not giving us a nominee for AG?
No, that's the point.
There's nothing they can do.
They can impeach him.
Oh.
But we saw, the Senate will never impeach because it would take, all those, never convict because it would take all those Republican votes. No, this is the point.
Right.
There's nothing they can do, and Trump knows that.
Right.
That's why he's doing what he's doing, and I cannot express this too strongly. It has nothing to do with Todd Blanche. It has everything to do with Donald Trump's con game.
Right.
Like almost everything else in the Trump administration.
The big conflict seems to be these senators, Corn and Tillis, want Blanche to put it in writing that they're not going to go forward with the weaponization fund, and he won't do it. That's got to be a massive red flag, right?
Right. Here's the point.
Okay.
They won't eliminate in writing in a formal sense the weaponization fund. But what Cornyn and Tillis are demanding of the sweetheart tax deal is very limited and keeps much of it in place. They don't want it to go to all the entities, but they're still willing to keep it for Trump and his kids.
But even that's not enough for Trump.
Even that is not enough for Trump. That's
Crazy.
The whole point. That might get him half, but that's not good enough. He wants everything. He wants any business that he or his sons are associated with to get a get out of jail free card when it comes to their taxes. They can do anything they want, and have done anything they want and get away with it entirely, even though we know from lots of reporting that they've been playing fast and loose with their taxes.
There's an interesting theory in the chat, maybe of trying to get him through in some sort of limbo period between the two Congresses after the midterms, something like that. Do you think that's a reliable theory or no?
I don't think that's going to work. It's because Cornyn and Tillis are still going to be in place. And by the way, Cornyn said we're not the only ones. I know Murkowski and I think Collins and maybe one other have also expressed serious doubts about Todd Blanche. It's not just Cornyn and Tillis, but because they have nothing to lose, then Tillis is retiring and Cornyn lost the primary to Trump's guy. And we're going to talk about that Texas race, are we not?
Yeah.
That's very, very important and very critical because I think Trump made an enormous blunder there, but we'll get to that. So, my friends, get to what's really going on here. It is follow the money. And once you understand the money trail, then what Trump is doing absolutely makes perfect sense. You don't need to scratch your head. You don't need to rethink it.
Let's get into this Ken Paxton news.
Yes, let's do that next.
There's a peculiar, I can't say that word. Peculiar dynamic happening right now in the Texas Senate race. It's playing out in Texas, where the fate of Republican nominee Ken Paxton will help decide which party controls the U.S. Senate. It's strange, Dad. Republicans aren't funding his Senate race.
It's just bizarre. Look, a Democrat hasn't won a statewide election since the Revolutionary War. It's been forever.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
And that Texas seat should be a shoo-in for Republicans. But as some commentators have said, Ken Paxton is the Republicans' Plantner, who, had scandals and had to drop out. Paxton will never drop out because Republicans have no shame. But he has enormous baggage, including, sexual infidelity, corruption. He was impeached by his own party in the House, although he escaped conviction in the Senate. Whistleblowers in his own office reported on his corruption. I mean, this guy is laden with baggage. And that is what's created the opening for the Democrats and why Republicans, I'm only speculating. I haven't crawled inside their heads, thank goodness.
Yikes.
Yeah, that's a frightening thought. I think they believe it's just not worth spending a lot of money here.
That's interesting.
Yeah, they really don't think Paxton can win. And the problem is they have to spend money in a lot of other places, including places they might not have thought they had to spend money, like Iowa,
right,
where the polls are within the margin of error. And Barack Obama just endorsed the Democrat, and there have been no polling since then. Ohio, where they have now a former senator, Sherrod Brown, running. So there are states that should be wrapped up for them, double-digit Trump states that are in play, and they've got to spend money there.
Right.
And Texas is fabulously expensive. They're saying to cover the Texas media markets, and there are 18 of them, you need to spend something on the order of $10 to $15 million a week, Sam.
Whoa.
A week.
Damn, that's a lot of guap.
If they want to try to bail out Paxton, they'd probably have to put, something on the order of close to $100 million. Because he's not raising a darn thing, hardly. He's being way outraised by Tallarico, the Democrat, who's a very strong candidate. What have I said about candidates? How should they campaign? Be yourself.
Right.
And being himself is very appealing to the Texas electorate. He's a very religious guy. He's a moderate, campaigns on, bread and butter issues. Very appealing to Texas. And the latest poll, I don't think I've ever seen a poll like this in Texas for a statewide election that I can remember, Sam. It's 45 Tallarico, 40 Paxton.
Damn.
That's probably within the margin of error, but still, that's a remarkable result for Texas. And that means 15% are undecided or think they might not vote. And typically, that group breaks for the challenger. In other words, if you were going to vote for the incumbent party, I know he's not the incumbent senator, but he represents the incumbent party, usually you know it. So if there's 10 to 15% undecided, that is more likely to break for Tallarico than for Paxton. Moreover, we know that Democrats have been way outperforming the polls in virtually every election. Off-year elections, like for governor in New Jersey and Virginia, special elections, they have been substantially outperforming the polls. So while a 5-point lead may not seem too daunting, when you consider Democrats have been doing much better than the polling, that is very bad news for Paxton.
I still can't quite believe it.
I know, it's very hard to believe.
I'm still a little pessimistic because I still can't quite wrap my mind
What does
around
Kalshi now say?
Let me check.
Yeah, meanwhile, I agree with you. I've been hearing for 20 years,
Yeah.
oh, Texas is, going to turn. It may not turn blue, but it'll at least turn purple, with Democrats being competitive in Texas, and they haven't really come close. Yeah, Ted Cruz and Beto O'Rourke came within 2 or 3 points, but once again, as I said, it has been since the Punic Wars that Democrats have won statewide elections in Texas.
Down in the West Texas town of El Paso, I fell in love with a Mexican girl. Pretty good. Kalshi currently has it. Wow, it literally changed as I was looking at it.
Wow. Yesterday or Tuesday, I think they had it 56% Republican.
Right now it's 50-50.
Wow. Yeah, you can see. Look at that. Can they see it?
No.
But at one point,
the Republican was at
70-30 or something.
Almost. No, at one point he was at 80%.
80-20, yeah. So it's really been an enormous switcheroo in Texas.
$6 million bet on this.
I'm not surprised.
On this
that
race.
is the marquee race this year.
Yeah.
Not that there aren't other important races, but Donald Trump, made again feeding his ego, made an enormous blunder. He didn't want to support Cornyn because he didn't think Cornyn was enough of a Trumper.
Yeah.
So he went to this terribly flawed candidate, Ken Paxton, which then opened things up for the Democrat.
Right. Well, I hope it bites him in the butt.
Right now, it looks that way, doesn't it? Or at least I think there is at least a 50-50 chance. I agree with you.
Yeah.
It's hard to believe a Democrat would really win in Texas.
It's too good to be true right now.
It seems too good to be true, but all the signs are positive.
Yeah. Wow, we have over 1,000 people watching.
Right.
But we only have 300 likes, so make sure you like the stream. It helps us a lot.
Don't we have a poll we want to put out?
We're going to do that after the Iran topic.
Yeah.
But I want to move right now to the polling because it's also related to a lot of this midterm talk.
And to Iran.
That too. New polling found Trump has a record low net job approval of -28, with 34% of Americans approving of his performance and 62% disapproving.
That is absolutely astounding because, the conventional wisdom, Sam, was Trump's base will never crack.
Right.
He has an unshakable about 40% base.
Right.
This shows that is absolutely not true. We don't know what the bottom of his base is, but it certainly is not 40%. That he's now down around 33%. One of the worst marks for a president at this point in his term. And in fact, if you dig into the details of the polling, it looks even worse.
Uh-oh.
Because there are major cracks in the Republican base, maybe not the Trump base.
Wow.
But the polling has looked at Republicans and Republican-leading independents, okay? This is the internals of the polls that look even worse for Trump because he's got to count on these voters. They alone can't elect him, but, if there's a big break there, he and fellow Republicans are doomed. So we're looking solely, Sam, at Republicans and GOP-leading independents. 64% say high gas prices have caused them at least a quote-unquote moderate hardship. That's Republicans. 56% say the economy is very or somewhat poor. 56% say Trump hasn't gone far enough to reduce the price of everyday goods. 56% disapprove of his performance on gas prices. That's Republicans. Look at polling on the war. You had said, this ties into the war.
Right.
64% of Republicans and GOP-leaning independents think a long-term war with Iran is likely. In other words, that Trump is misleading everyone when he constantly says, it's about over, we got a deal. What has he said that 40 times? I don't know.
Probably.
Dozens anyway. 45% of the Republicans and Republican-leaning independents, 45% say the war hasn't been worth it. That's almost half.
Wow.
45% say Trump doesn't have a clear plan for Iran. And overall, 40% of what should be his base disapprove of Trump overall on Iran.
Finally.
Yeah.
Took him long enough to realize this guy's a dope.
It's worse than a dope. He's evil.
True.
Yeah. It misrepresents. I hate it when people say, oh, he's demented, he's incompetent. That whitewashes Trump. He is evil.
You're right. I just said dope to be funny.
I get what you mean, but I'm not railing on you. I'm railing on so many commentators who sort of glide over the evil and talk about, him being demented or incompetent. That all may be true, but that's not the key point.
Right. And we were talking earlier about how this polling number is really important when talking about our last episode, the midterm preview. We went over some House districts that were like +3R, +5R. With this type of polling, I mean, those districts will be washed right over to the blue side, right?
Yes. There is some generic polling. Generic polling is, would you favor voting for a Democrat or Republican in your district? And the Democrats are up 6 to 8 points. Enough, even if you just look at that, to flush away some of those districts. But again, remember, Democrats have substantially outperformed the polls. And again, when you look at the internal details of the poll, here's the reason why. Among those who are enthusiastic about voting, and remember, midterm elections, Sam, are low turnout elections. The Democrats have a 20-point lead, not 6, not 8, but a 20-point lead. Republicans are not enthusiastic about voting. And what steams me is that so many Democrats, despite all this favorable situation for them, seem to be intent on trying to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. Bickering among themselves, trying to purify the party, trying to say, who should be in, who should be out. The last thing we need, as I said, the Democratic Party is not the Communist Party. There is no party line. Democratic Party, when it's been strong, has always been diverse, and every candidate should campaign true to themselves. Tallarico is not Mondami, and that's fine. That's fine. You don't have to force any candidate into any given mold. New York is not Texas.
It's not?
Well, I've been to both places. It's close, but not quite.
Okay.
All right, let's move on.
All right, our final topic of the evening before we move on to questions is, in fact, the Iran war. As the war, in fact, between the United States and Iran widens, Saudi Arabia joined with over a dozen other countries, including Egypt and Turkey, to form a new defense coalition to stop attacks on the shippings in the Red Sea. The war is spreading, Dad, to more countries, to more conflicts, as we've talked about a million times. You hit one domino, you're going to hit a bunch of dominoes that you didn't even expect. Now the Red Sea is causing a massive regional conflict.
Can you grab my book?
Which one?
The one in the middle. President.
Yes.
And thank you, by the way. You guys have stepped up and pre-ordered. It's made a big dent in the Amazon ratings, but keep it up. Please, it'll help us so much if you reorder the book. And one of the big bonuses you get from buying this book is Lichtman's 10 Keys to Presidential Greatness, of which Trump at best has one. One, which is why he's right at the bottom of presidents. But I want to highlight just a couple of keys. Crisis key. Key number 1. Great presidents are forged in existential crisis and rise to these challenges.
Right.
And Trump, of course, has done just the opposite. Rather than rising to challenges, he's made things much, much worse. Another key, the adaptability key. Adjust to changing circumstances, revise judgments, and change course without losing purpose. Has Trump showed any ability to adapt as this war becomes larger, more deadly, more uncertain?
No.
No, he hasn't. If he even had a strategy, he's just plowing ahead, like a blind mole without adapting at all to the circumstances. And I'll just highlight one more. Key number 3, the moral vision key. Articulate a moral purpose that links your policy to freedom, equality, dignity, and justice, not to making money.
Good point, Dad.
Yeah.
You had a poll you wanted to do for the audience on the Iran war.
Yes, you know what the poll is. Will the Iran war be over by the time of the midterms, yes or no?
Okay, let me get that up. Anything else you want to say about the war while I put this up? We've said a lot about it.
Yes, and because he's not adaptable, because he can't pivot, because he can't deal with crises, there doesn't seem to be any clear end. I mean, he could look out, things could turn around, but instead of the war winding down, the war seems to be getting worse, and we seem to be at the point where we've kind of forgotten all objectives. God knows what they were. Hang on to that.
Okay.
I want you to pitch it again. The only objective now that seems to be the focus of everyone is the shipping, right?
Yeah.
Opening up the strait and opening up the Red Sea, the Al-Bab Strait. What was the status before we started this war?
Open.
And even if they reach some agreement on that, it's not likely to be as freely open as it was before. There are likely to be some controls and some tolls on the shipping. So all we seem to now be moving towards, with all this death and destruction, with trashing the world economy, trashing the U.S. economy, is a hope that we can go back to where we were before the war started. And even that seems highly unlikely.
Yeah. All right. With that, we will move on to the question portion of our show. Before we do, we have over 1,100 people watching, but only 500 likes. Make sure you like the stream. It helps us a lot. Subscribe if you're not subscribed. Turn that notification bell so you know we're live or when we post videos. Remember that members and donators get priority on the question portion of our show. I want to give another shout out to a very generous donator this evening. Where did they go?
We can't forget. That was an amazing donation, and I hope lots of you will look at that as an example to follow.
Curiosity feeds me.
Yes.
Thank you so much for your generous donation. We appreciate that. Also, George Politis with a very generous donation, as per usual. Our benefactor.
Yes, indeed.
Okay. Oh, yes. And as he was just speaking about the new book, Great American Presidents, The 12 Who Transformed the Nation by Allan J. Lichtman.
And the 10 keys that come with it. You can do it yourself. Judge every president with the Lichtman 10 keys.
You can pre-order this right now, wherever you get your books, Amazon, Barnes & Noble. Maybe you have a more independent way of getting your books. You can pre-order it right now. So go to where you get your books and pre-order it now.
And we're working on it. I'm not sure we'll be able to do it, but we're working on some way, if you wanted, to get some kind of electronic signature. We haven't worked that out yet, and we may not till the book is out, but we're working on it.
Okay. Our first question. Oh, he wants a soda. He's tapped me very gently.
The tap for the soda.
The soda tap.
Yep.
Our first question is from Free Throw Guy. The Great Pacific Northwest is burning, on pace to be the worst forest fire season on record. What does Trump do in my home state of Oregon? Denies us emergency aid to fight these fires. Don't forget us.
We haven't, but Trump has. They've admitted this. This isn't something that was discovered by, the fake news. They admitted that they gear aid to whether or not a state voted for Trump. That is a classic page out of the authoritarian playbook. It is immoral, it's cruel, it's inhumane. I don't think we've ever seen anything like that before in American history. It's just abominable. Aid should be based on need, not on the politics, the political priorities of the administration. Every time you think Trump couldn't go lower, somehow he manages to do so. Plus, it's not just the Great Pacific Northwest, a place I love. It's Canada. All over Europe, they have record wildfires. And what's Trump doing? Exacerbating climate change, prioritizing the burning of fossil fuels that contribute to catastrophic climate change, and shutting down, even paying for it, shutting down alternative, renewable, clean sources of energy.
This is from Zillion. They say, I know you're not calling the keys, but objectively, Trump has not governed well. The keys were always just biomarkers for this. Can't we call 2028 already?
No. I get your point. Maybe if you froze time right now, it would look pretty bad, but, there's still a long way to go for the midterms. And who knows?
What's to come?
what might happen. Oh, one thing we didn't mention.
What?
But's relevant to this, the anemic economic growth.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Economic growth was only 1.5%. That's pretty miserable in the last quarter. And the economists have said the drag of the Iran war is part of it. So it's not just its effect on prices. That's bad enough. I think inflation is about 3.5%, larger than it was in the last year of Joe Biden, by the way. But of course, anything bad is got to be due to Joe Biden or Barack Obama, Franklin Roosevelt, Woodrow Wilson. It doesn't matter as long as it's not Trump. So the Iran war is having a generalized negative effect on the economy, and I'm not sure we've seen its full impact yet by any means.
Republicans in Congress seem to have lost interest in Hunter Biden. Do you think the focus on Fauci will fade similarly, or will it persist?
It will fade. Nobody cares at this point about Fauci, and I'm not sure anyway exactly what they have on him and whether, they can. Hunter Biden was a bad guy. No doubt about it. He was guilty of certain crimes and, got what he deserved in a sense. But I don't see the same thing for Fauci. And, he's not the president's son. So, no, I don't see Fauci becoming a big issue.
The American right is they're pretty hysterical about Fauci. They really hate this guy. And
I know, but it doesn't go beyond the extremists, as I've seen to this point. Ordinary Americans don't care about Fauci anymore.
I saw a ridiculous clip from Megyn Kelly saying that Dr. Fauci hurt more people than Jeffrey Epstein.
Oh
I was
my
like,
God.
holy moly, we're in a dark timeline here where people are
I know.
more
that's
upset with
unbelievable.
Dr. Fauci than they are with Jeffrey Epstein. And look, I'm not saying Fauci handled everything precisely or correctly, but there's no doubt that Donald Trump was the main person at that time causing the most disruption to our reaction to COVID. And, obviously everybody's mad about Fauci for, I mean, he didn't do any of this either. You have to
No,
understand.
he didn't make
a
policy.
single policy, but, for advocating advocating social
Closures
distance
and
or
things,
advocating
yeah.
closures. And somehow a public health official doing their job, trying to stop the spread of a pandemic is equal to that of a human trafficker. Just makes me worried about things sometimes. And
There's
the
plenty
rhetoric.
to worry about, Sam.
I don't know, but that just feels very dark to me. The fact that Megyn Kelly, a pretty prominent voice on the right, is trying to convince her audience that Dr. Fauci is worse than Jeffrey Epstein.
It's unbelievable. And by the way, the head of Donald Trump's own task force, unfortunately, she didn't say this until too late, said Trump's handling it was so bad that it probably cost hundreds of thousands of lives directly by his mishandling. And we saw his repeatedly lying to the American people. It's no worse than the common flu. It's, doesn't spread. It's going to disappear
Right.
of its own accord, constantly lying. Swallow bleach if you want to cure COVID, just not lies and absurdities. And his own task force head called him out on it.
I'm just not sure
Dr. Deborah Birx.
I'm just not sure what they expected Fauci to do in that situation. Just be like, hey, just carry on as usual.
Yeah.
There's a massive unknown pandemic spreading through the world. Just act normal. I mean, obviously,
Right.
he's a public health official. Doctors, any doctor you go to is going to tell you to wash your hands and don't go near sick people. I mean, I don't understand why they're so mad about it. And I understand.
As if he was supposed to know, everything about this unknown, unprecedented virus situation.
And, I understand that closing schools and closing businesses had a negative effect on a lot of people. But people seem more concerned about those people than the million Americans who literally died from the disease. I can't quite wrap my mind around that, how the American right has gained more empathy for business owners, which I have empathy for, but more than people who literally lost their lives in the millions.
Not to mention all those who didn't lose their lives, but suffered.
Had long COVID.
They suffered long term, exactly.
And again, what is Fauci supposed to do? Like, our health systems were being overwhelmed. Our emergency services were being overwhelmed.
Our presidential leadership is a disaster. What is he supposed to do?
Yeah, I mean, I think I know why they're doing this. One, it's just part of their deep state. The government is out to get you agenda, but it also is to take all the blame off of Trump.
Exactly.
Let's put all the blame on Fauci, and then maybe people will forget that Trump told us to drink bleach and it'll be over by April, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
Anthony Armand said, "My dad passed from COVID in 2021." I mean, it's just it's so strange that
I've had COVID. It was terrible. You've had COVID, right?
Yeah. I just don't understand how the American right has convinced millions of people that we should be more concerned about, there was some senator all mad about Fauci about a family who got arrested for not wearing masks. Okay, that's probably ridiculous, right? You probably shouldn't be arrested for not wearing masks.
But compared to a million people dying,
deaths,
yeah.
come on, man. All right. Our next question is from PV Kip. Elon Musk says he's re-entering politics.
Oh, my God.
To influence future elections. Given his recent setbacks, what are his odds of succeeding this time? How could this strategy backfire?
Oh, it can, but I think it works. It worked brilliantly in 2024 because of his access to levers of information. He put out vast amounts of disinformation, which if you read my prior book, Conservative at the Core, I proved had a decisive influence on the election. So while he himself may not persuade anyone, his putting out of disinformation could once again have a powerful negative influence on the election.
Do you think Elon's latest political push will empower his influence, or could it ultimately weaken his credibility? It's kind of the same question.
Same question, yeah.
We've got a bunch of the same questions in a row here.
Have we checked our poll?
Oh, our poll. Will the Iran war be over by the 2026 midterm election? 10% say yes, 90% say no.
Wow. How many?
We have 268 votes.
All right. Let's keep you got a lot more viewing, so pile on to the poll, and we'll check it again right before we get off the air.
This is from Wyatt. Speaking of Ohio, Max Miller has a huge scandal that is domestic abuse, and it involves the daughter of Senator Bernie Moreno, who attacked Fauci, then Max.
Okay, I'm not sure what the question is. I've heard about that scandal.
I guess
I think it could be decisive. Yeah,
could be beneficial for Sherrod Brown.
Yeah.
Which type of president do you think might cause the most harm to the American people and democracy? A weak, do-nothing president like Buchanan, or a powerfully unrestrained president like Trump?
It's a very tough question since they're both disasters. But I think in the modern world, a powerful, unrestrained president wielding all of the enormous powers of the presidency, which by orders of magnitude are so much greater than they were in the 1850s when James Buchanan was president. So in the modern era, there is no question that the greatest threat to American democracy and to democracy worldwide comes from an unrestrained president who believes that he or she can do anything they want and is willing to wield all the enormous powers of the presidency to enrich themselves, to enhance their power, with no concern for the welfare of the people or the survival of democracy.
This is from the Mad Hatter Forever 23. They say, oh, I just asked that question. Hi, Dr. Lichtman and Sam. This is from member Sharon. I ordered your new book yesterday. I depend on your show to keep me up to date on the news. I need to know. Wow. It's all on you, man.
Yeah, we're trying. And we're trying to also go beyond the news and give you, historical depth, perspective, and analyses you wouldn't get anywhere else. Like, our take on the Todd Blanche situation, to cut right to the chase and what it's really all about.
This is from member G. Harris. What does Professor Lichtman think about the rise of democratic socialism?
I think I've talked about this a lot before.
I think you've talked about it in the sphere of the Democratic Party, but I think they're more asking, what do you think about it generally speaking?
Generally speaking, it's not socialism. It is social democratic policy. They're not advocating the government taking over all of the businesses and the banks in the country. That's socialism. They are advocating a Scandinavian type system, which is more regulation of business to curb their abuses and a more robust safety net for those who are struggling. In that sense, while I'm not in favor of hard socialism, I think social democratic philosophy is quite reasonable.
This is from member Patrick Murray. There have been proposals in Congress to bring back dueling in public executions.
God.
There are no modern universal gun laws, but there are laws that prohibit a woman from getting an abortion even if her life is at stake. There is also an increase in capital punishment this year. These are all related to Republican states and Republican politicians. Why is the GOP so obsessed with death? Good question.
Yeah, it's a very good question. I have another book on this.
What? No.
It's not out yet.
Oh, my gosh.
It'll be out next year, called Fury, Violence in the Making of America.
Well, that sounds interesting.
That the establishment, the wealthy, the well-connected, have always been wedded to violence, to the use of violence to keep down the so-called dangerous classes, like the massacres of indigenous people or the massacres of black people or the wars against unions. They've always been willing to resort to violence to keep themselves in power and to keep threats to their power. So this is not something new. It may be more extreme because, you have more extreme power players in control now, but this is something with a long history and kind of a neglected history. It's history you would never find in anything that comes out of this administration.
Right. This is from member James LaGruta, our resident Giants fan.
Yes, this is a sports question.
No, sir.
Oh.
What are your thoughts on Mayor Mamdani's plan to offer a 30% discount on specific groceries, and how can he get it done effectively?
I'm not an expert on, his policies in New York, but anything, provided it can be done in a fiscally responsible way that could make it more affordable for people to put food in their mouths and the mouths of their family. If he can do it, it's a good idea.
You're not an expert on groceries?
I kind of am, but not on groceries in New York. I haven't lived in New York for 60 years.
Right. This is from member Diane Kastner. I live in Philadelphia, where the original panels depicting the story of Washington's slaves at the president's house were removed and replaced with whitewashed versions. Everyone is upset. If the House and Senate are won by Democrats, can we reverse such things?
Probably not, unless you get both houses to pass laws reversing it. You can investigate it because it has nothing to do, of course, with accurate history. It's everything to do with whitewashing our history, with purging anything that doesn't fit with Donald Trump's political orthodoxy, which is American history, is the great unblemished triumph of extraordinary white men from the founding to the present. He's also besmirching the Smithsonian, putting signs on exhibits saying they're inaccurate. Well, the most inaccurate history I've ever seen is Donald Trump's 1776 report that came out at the end of his administration. So he's not talking about historical accuracy. Yeah, exactly. You think he's ever read a history book?
Maybe, but it still doesn't matter.
Maybe the classic comic version or something.
No,
but this has nothing to do with historical
But if
accuracy.
Trump just went in and changed all these panels, can't the next president just go in and change all the panels back?
Absolutely, but there's still a lot of damage done over the years when this whitewashed history is promulgated, and all the years where Trump is messing around with the exhibits at the Smithsonian. Again, solely for political reasons. There is nothing about what Trump does that has anything to do with historical accuracy.
This is a $20 donation. Thank you so much from
Nice.
Joshua Mills. Let's do a fun, non-realistic, silly scenario. Imagine you take all former U.S. presidents, including Trump, and put them in a World Cup format tournament. Who comes out on top? Who would people vote to run the country? That's an interesting
That's a great point.
question.
And, I think it would be the big three. We know who the big three are, right, Sam? Do you know who they are?
Washington,
Yes.
Lincoln,
Yes.
FDR.
Yes.
Ah,
And every poll of historians, those always come out on top, and by a wide margin. There's a lot of disagreement, in fact, on who would be ranked below them, but really no disagreement that those three are our greatest presidents.
maybe we should do like a video with like a tournament style bracket.
Yeah, I
Presidents
like that.
head-to-head. That's a good
It's
idea.
a smart idea. How much time we have left?
We started a little bit late. It's currently 59, so maybe we'll go for another couple of minutes.
Sure.
Okay.
We can take another question.
This is from Tina. In 4 days, there can be no special election to replace Mitch McConnell. Did you know this?
Yes, because there's a certain timing for a special election. Normally, the governor would appoint. We saw that in South Carolina, right?
Right.
What happened when Lindsey Graham died, Sam?
Sister came in.
They appointed his sister like within a day. But of course, since Republicans have no principles, they denied that power to the governor in Kentucky. You know why?
Why?
Because he's a Democrat, Governor Bashir. You know, one of the only Democrats in a solid red state. They've also there is a lot of denial of powers to the governor in North Carolina, not a solidly red state, but the Republicans, because of gerrymandering, having overwhelming majorities in the state legislature. So yes, you cannot appoint a successor to McConnell, and his absence matters. You know, we've had some very close votes, including, you know, at least one or two where J.D. Vance had to break the tie. I'd be shocked to see McConnell return.
This is from Marshall Ritter. In the Senate forecast, watch for Nebraska as the Dem candidate Cindy Burbank dropped out and won't even appear on the ballot, which may open things up for the independent candidate.
Very smart. That's absolutely right. Democrat would have no chance in Nebraska. But there's an independent candidate who is very strong, has a very important following, and I haven't seen any polling on it. See what Kalshi says. But I think there's at least an outside chance that the independent could win in Nebraska. You know, one of the things about a lot of these states is they're either open, like Iowa, or really nondescript, undistinguished Republican incumbents voting.
The independent is pretty far behind. Right now, Kalshi has Pete Ricketts, the Republican, at 70%, Cindy Burbank at 1%,
right,
and then Dan Osborne at 29%.
Yeah, so it's a long shot.
It's a long shot.
It's not zero. It's not 90-10.
It's not 90-10. All right, with that, we will wrap up Lichtman Live for the evening. I want to give some shout outs to some donators. Tina here for today, who said soft drink donation and wishing you good luck on your race. Who else? 2009 KWOW Gal, PV Kip, President Ferrocho, Wyatt Hamilton, Kathy Canavy, Heather Grass, Lori Robinson, Colette, Marshall Ritter, Limited Light, Brian Sheehan here for today. Potato Bip just came in with a donation. I think I saw at least one person become a member. I think it was Colidi. Yes, thank you to President.
Really depend on members.
Thank you to President Colidi.
It costs less to be a member than to buy a milkshake.
Correct. Thank you to Colidi for becoming a member. Luis Lohouse says, belated congrats on your 250th episode, following your show since spring 2024.
Wow.
And learned so much beyond the usual blather. Stay healthy. We need you.
I'm trying.
He's doing it. Also, Brian Sheehan said, I just started reading your book, FDR and the Jews, on Audible.
Oh, wow. Yes.
That's a
Thanks for watching, people. Love and peace to everyone, and take care. Ciao for now.
good one. I also
that book won a lot of major national awards.
I also consumed that book via Audible.
Right.
All right, Dad. What are your final words to the people?
3 words. Follow the money. All else is dross.
All right. Good night.
Good night.